Hi everyone, this is Brian Hayes and welcome to the final tutorial in our series on fingerboard basics for the guitar. This tutorial is on the advanced note name game for guitar players. It's easy to play. You just need a container of some sort, just a lid or a cup. 21 blank squares of paper, just cut in a square or rectangle like I've got there. A decent marker pen so that you can see the note names that you've written on the pieces of paper, and a metronome. I've got a separate hardware device here as my metronome. I've got it set on 60 beats a minute there. You can use, if you haven't got one of these metronomes, you can use a mobile phone metronome app. If you're in front of your PC, you can just Google online metronome. You just need a way of having a device click for you at 60 beats a minute, 1 beat per second. Okay, I have prepared the question cards here in advance to save time, and you'll need to do the same. I'll hold up each card, but you'll need to prepare these cards. So the first note in a chromatic scale is the note A. You'll need to write the note A on one of your pieces of paper and then just put it in your container. The next note in a chromatic scale, we've already learnt through our tutorials, can be called by two alternate names. It could be an A sharp or a B flat. Compared to A, the note is A sharp. Compared to B, it's B flat. So you need two cards, one with A sharp on it, one with B flat. The next note in our chromatic scale is the note B. So you'll need to prepare a card with B on it. B is followed by the note C. C is followed by a note that can be called either C sharp or D flat. So you'll need two cards, one with C sharp on it, the other with D flat. The next note is the note D, followed by a note that can be called either D sharp or E flat. So you'll need two cards, one with E flat, the other with D sharp. That note is followed by E. The next note in a chromatic scale is F. Then we have a note that can be called either F sharp or G flat. That note is followed by G. And finally, we have a note that can be called either G sharp or A flat. So you'll obviously need to pause this video and go back over it as many times as required so you can prepare your own set of cards. But as we learnt in Volume 4, there's another trick in music. The note E can be raised a semitone, and there is a note called E sharp. And the note F can be lowered a semitone, and there is a note called F flat. We learnt that E sharp is more commonly known as F, and F flat is more commonly known as E. However, they are standard notes in music, and in certain keys you will need to recognise those notes as F flat and E sharp. And finally, along the same lines, we learnt that B sharp is the note C and C flat is the note B. There are keys in music that have 6 and 7 sharps and flats, and you will strike the notes B sharp and C flat at some stage in your music making. Okay, so you now have 21 questions written on your cards in your container. You have a metronome in one form or another set to 60 beats a minute. You have your guitar in your hands. You put your metronome on. You juggle the cards around like a deck of cards, a magician's trick in here. Just juggle them all around, turn them upside down, mix them up. And the advanced note name game simply says you reach in there, dig down deep, and pull out whatever the card is. It's an E sharp. So it's important not to run away and cry if you pull out a hard one, which we've just done there at random. We've pulled out a pretty tricky question first up. It's not one of the open strings on the guitar. It's not one of the notes in a, it's not one of the white keys on a piano keyboard. But the whole concept of this game is no matter what card you pull out of the container, you must answer that question on your guitar. You can't put that back in or throw it in the bin if it's too hard. You've got to see this task through. You've got 21 questions, and to pass the game, you've got to answer every one of the 21 questions without playing a mistake. Now, the task on the guitar is, remember, we have to play whatever the note is we pull out of the container as a fretted note on the guitar. No open strings allowed. So in real life, what we do is we pull out, and here we see we've got an E sharp. We quickly in our mind would say, well, hang on a minute, E sharp is more commonly known as F, but it is an E sharp, and if you play any music in the key of C sharp major, you will not see it written as the note F. You will see it as an E sharp, and it will be spoken about as the note E sharp. Okay, so the task is you grab your guitar, you put your metronome on at 60 beats a minute, 1 beat per second, and your task is to play 6 consecutive E sharps, 1 on each string of the guitar. So you'd go like 1, 2, 3, 4. String 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And on each of those 6 strings, you would have played the note E sharp. Now, it's very demanding, and you may want to initially set your metronome back down on 40 beats a minute. Really give yourself some time with this. But be aware, the advanced note name game requires you to do this at 60 beats a minute. Okay, there's the first test for you to do in real life. We'll pick another one, and again, we just juggle them up. We don't go looking for an easy one. We just, whatever it is, and bingo, we've actually landed an easier question. So this time, it's the note A. The same thing applies. You put your metronome on, 60 beats a minute, and on each of your 6 strings, and you cannot, A is one of the open strings on the guitar. No, not good enough. You're not allowed to hit an open string. So you've got to play the note A in a fretted position on that open string. And you would simply go strings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you do that without a mistake, if you can do it at 60 beats a minute, put that card outside, you've passed that question. So we've got the 2 questions we've got for this tutorial, E sharp and A. Once you've proven you can do that, they're out of the container. But you've got another 19 questions waiting for you here. Now, of course, you may not do all of the questions in one practice session, and I don't recommend you do, but maybe devote 10 minutes of every practice session on the advanced note name game. Make that part of every practice session, and you might be able to answer 1 or 2 or even 3 questions per practice session. Sooner or later, you will get to the point where you've got no more cards left in the container. And that means you've played every possible note on the guitar, asked under pressure, with your metronome just driving you mad in the background saying, well, that's all the time I'm going to give you to find the note, just 1 second. You haven't got half an hour to sit around and think about it. That's the power of this game. So what I want you to do is get your metronome, set it on 60 beats a minute, give yourself maybe 2 bars counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, bingo, you're into it. You are playing 6 consecutive E sharps, no open strings, an E sharp on each of the 6 strings. If you get that one under control, move to the next question, which remember was an A. We just picked it out at random. It was an A, same thing. I'd like you to work on that now. I'm going to stop the video. I'll get my guitar and I'll play through those 2 example questions there, just so that you can make sure that what you think is the right notes, that you've answered it correctly. Okay, you give it a go now and come back and I'll have the guitar and we'll work through it. Okay, so how did you go? Remember, our challenge was the note E sharp. At 60 beats a minute, we put our metronome on. We'll give ourselves 2 bars in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. E sharp, E sharp, E sharp, E sharp, E sharp, E sharp. That's the game, to try and get it to that ease of playing, consistency. Use the metronome. It'll drive you mad because the metronome is not going to slow down for you. It's basically the same as an athlete trying to improve their time on the running track. The stopwatch doesn't lie. The metronome isn't going to get slower for you just because you find it hard to find those notes. So if you struggled with that, take your time, turn the metronome off, take your time, find where those notes are, slow the metronome down to 40 beats a minute if you need to. But ultimately, to pass the test, you need to be able to do like I just did then, play with the metronome at 60 beats a minute, no mistake, away you go. Now, from my perspective, at that point in time, I've answered that question. It does not go back in the container. It goes into a separate, put it in your bottom drawer, ready for another day. Okay, remember the second note we pulled out of the container at random was the note A. So same thing applies. We can't play an open string. So yes, the 5th string on the guitar is the note A. Not allowed. We have to fret each note. So give ourselves a couple of bars in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. A, 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 A. That's it. Answered the question. Doesn't go back in the container. Put it in the drawer for another day. It's an incredibly powerful game to play. I've seen it used with many of my students on many instruments, and it's the best way, particularly if you're practicing on your own at home and you haven't got a playing partner who can ask questions of you at the same time. You know, it's the closest thing to walking into a music teacher's studio and the teacher just says, oh, well, you know, can you play me a C sharp on each of the 6 strings of the guitar? You can't prepare for that. You're never too sure what that teacher is going to ask you. In the same way, when you genuinely don't look at the cards and just turn them over and reach in there, there's no way that I knew that I was going to pull out a D sharp card. You might know where all of the D sharps are on your guitar. Maybe you don't. But that game is going to really simulate real life playing conditions. You might be playing in a blues band and for some reason the piano player loves playing on the black keys and only the black keys. So the blues might be an easy 3-chord or simple blues, 3 or 4 chord blues, but the piano player plays everything in F sharp, C sharp, B major, 5 sharps, 6 sharps, 7 sharps. You've got to know where these notes are on the guitar, even just to work out what the chords are. And once you get your mind around what they are, where they are on the guitar. I hope that's been a lot of fun and of use to you. The advanced note name game for guitar fingerboard is the best tool that I've ever found to genuinely benchmark how well you are going with your knowledge and practical application of your knowledge for note names on the guitar fingerboard. Don't let it frustrate you. Take your time, work through each of the 5 volumes in this series of Fingerboard Basics. By the time you can successfully answer the 21 questions at random that the advanced note name game will bring to you, just by pulling those cards out of the container, you have definitely come an enormous way in your journey to be able to quickly find the notes asked of you under pressure on your guitar fingerboard. As always, keep in touch via my website, www.brianhayes.biz, that's B-I-Z. Drop me an email, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and keep enjoying the learning experience as you push forward in your understanding of guitar basics. Bye for now.